Hi, Stamper fans. Welcome to another Make It Monday. I am Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois, and I am live here on my Facebook page every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Time in the U.S. So welcome. So glad you could join me. If you are catching the replay, thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope that you will get some new tips out of this, tricks, ideas, inspiration, laughs, whatever you came for. I hope that you get it from this video. So we are making a really cool and very simple tri-panel card tonight. This was my entry into Friday Night Stamping. It did not win. My husband's fabulous bunny card won, and it looks like my darn, sorry, just trying to adjust the lighting on the screen there. Everything dimmed down when I put the card up. So, okay, I'm back. So, yeah, we'll be making that tonight, and I've got some good tips for you, I think, on the different tools of the trade. So hopefully that will, give you maybe something you didn't know. So, hello, Penny. So glad you are here. Just like Penny, if you're joining me live, go ahead and drop a comment in the comments. Because that's where you put them. Say hello. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and comment, replay or whatever, so I know that you've stopped by. As always, whether you're watching live or on the replay, if you have any questions, you can drop them into the comments. I will check on those, or you can shoot me a direct message. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, Stampin' related or me related even. So, I have to laugh because I'm here, sleeveless, because it's 89 degrees in central Illinois today. It's a lovely summer day, but up until like a minute ago, I had slippers on because I'm in the basement. My studio is in my basement in my house, so it is a little chillier down here. It's quite comfortable today, but my feet were a little cold until right before I had to go live, and then I was like, whew, a little warm, got to take those off. So, because I always get revved up when I'm talking to all of you. So, all right, enough chit chat. Let's get down to business here. To defeat the Huns. It's for all you Mulan fans. Okay, so I am feeling clearly a little goofy today. Had a good weekend, busy weekend. Oh my gosh, I did not get enough sleep this weekend, that's for sure. Just up late and up earlier than usual. Not real early, just earlier than usual for the weekend. Yesterday morning, we went to this cool makers market. We have a restaurant and brew house, a beer hall kind of thing up by us, and it's on this big piece of land, so it's really nice. And they have this makers market, I think like 4 or 5 times a year. So we went yesterday, and I got some cute holiday earrings. I was pretty excited about it, and they were so fun. Like, first of all, buffalo plaid. If you know me at all, I love a buffalo plaid, so those are going to be nice for Christmas time and everything. But really, and like, I could wear them Valentine's Day, for crying out loud, or I don't know, any Wednesday. And then these cute pumpkin ones, which I can wear not only for Halloween, but Thanksgiving and all fall. So how fun is that? But the reason I'm showing you is, first of all, because they're super cute. But second of all, I noticed, because she mentioned she's on Facebook and Instagram, but I also noticed she has an Etsy shop. So in case you want to go check out her stuff, because she did not have just holiday things. Yes, you could wear them any day. She did not have just holiday things, although she did have a separate rack for holiday. And I was just saying last year, I want to get some more holiday earrings. But she had all sorts of just gorgeous earrings there for sale. So if you're so inclined, check out her Etsy shop. And she doesn't even know I'm doing this. It's the first time I met this woman. So I just wanted to pass it along. Oh, have a lovely breakfast with your son, Lucia. We'll check in later. Okay, so tri-panel cards, too fun. Very, very, very simple. I'm actually kind of surprised that the voting was so close because my card was, it's actually really pretty simple. A couple of little things took it up a notch, I think. So if you wanted to do plain, I have some samples for you that are just kind of plain using some different papers. I will show you those at the end. This one I stepped up with a couple of different things, so I'll show you that. First, I want to show you this gorgeous paper because it's not in any catalog. It's one of our online exclusives. It's called One Horse Open Sleigh, and it is a 6x6 paper. So they're kind of, one side of each of them is more of a scene, obviously a wintry scene, One Horse Open Sleigh. And the other sides are more just kind of graphic. Let me see if I can get this still enough. It's really hard with the camera. But anyway, it's kind of a textured, almost like a fabric kind of thing. This one, super pretty. I love it. And then the other side's a nice wood grain. We've got another nice little snowy wood scene, and then some kind of distressed red. More woods with a fence, and then a nice brown kind of textile kind of print. Love it. More snowy woods. I see a lot of people commented on Friday, during Friday night stamping, they were not ready for the snow. So I think that hindered my votes. So a gorgeous blue there. Oh, cute little fawn. And then a nice mossy green. Oh, isn't that pretty? It's just so serene. And then you could just stamp your greeting on it and you're done. Like super simple. And another nice wood grain. I love this one. Such a cool viewpoint looking down from the trees like you're an owl or something. And another nice blue stripey. And a lit cabin. I love the lights on the trees too. And another nice green. Really pretty either sunrise or sunset on the snow. And that really pretty, like, I think it's pool party. Oh, I love pool party. Another gorgeous snowy scene. And how pretty is this? Love that one too. So many good ones you could just do so much with. Nice little fence. This reminds me of the movie The Holiday with Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz. And this is like Kate Winslet's little gate to her house in England. And another cool red like crosshatch pattern. So yes, the one side is all snowy scenes. The other side, with the exception of those trees, is really just kind of graphic and wood grain and very versatile. So a good versatile set. You get 4 of each of those pieces in the pack of paper. So lots of good stuff for you to play with there. Let me see where I can put this. There we go. Okay, so on with our card. So I went a very kind of monochromatic, very basic, because I wanted the paper to really shine on this one. So I'm just using the crumb cake and early espresso with white as my neutral. So the crumb cake again, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And all of these measurements are in the link in the video description. So where it says supply list and cardstock measurements, you can just click that link and see everything I used and see the measurements I cut the paper to. All easy peasy. Okay, we have a little inside piece, which I will do later. Psych. And then we've got a couple of early espressos. So really, I've given you in the link, I've given you the measurements for these particular basic white and early espresso pieces, but it's really just big enough for your sentiment and then a little bigger for the espresso. So it can be whatever your sentiment is. This one, however, is a 1.5 by 5.5 because it's going to go completely up this side of the card. So it's kind of a book binding almost. It's like that, you know, you've got a nice bound book for your collection, right? So I'm going to take a little snail. And you could totally use liquid glue with this. And I'm wondering if you prefer to use a tape runner like our Stampin' Seal, or if you prefer to use a liquid glue like our Tombow multi-mono liquid glue. That's why we just call it green glue or liquid glue, because that's a mouthful. We're just going to pop that along the edge, and it's going to run top to bottom, right up to the edge. We've got a little bit of an overhang there. So I'm just going to snip that off with my scissors. I love our snips because they're shorter, like shorter length scissors. So they're not as unwieldy. So they can get into tight corners. They're great for fussy cutting. I love that. But they're also really great for that kind of thing because you're not, you don't have a big honking pair of scissors, right? So there we go on that. All right, let me show you how to do your tri panel. So really, if you wanted to do this in 4 panels, you could do that. And I actually did want to do it in 4 panels, but when I tried to math, I smelled smoke coming out my ears and my brain hurt. So I went, no, we're just going to make this really easy on my brain. And so we're going to do tri panels. So what I did with this whole piece is I took off, because this is going to be 5 1/4. So I'm just going to cut this at 5 1/4 inches. So I took off about 3/4 of an inch off the bottom. Okay. That's super useful for another piece, or you've got a little red strip for some other project. Don't throw that away, right? You could always stamp the sentiment on it. Okay, so then, depending on your piece, I decided I wanted this half of it. So I'm going to cut this to, let me remind myself, yeah, each of these are 1 1/4. So I just went 3 3/4, because then 1 1/4 each, right? So I sliced right through that poor guy's cabin. Sorry. And then another thing I love about our trimmer is let me get this up closer a little bit. It's really easy to read the numbers and the measurements. It's got the metric up here too. If that confuses you, and you use imperial, I'm like, what do we call ours? Inches, If you use imperial measurements and the metric up here confuses you, you can take a piece of washi tape or something like that, or electrical tape, whatever kind of tape, and just write over that. And then you won't have to worry about that being in your way and confusing you, okay? So I do use the inch measurements, obviously, but I love that it has the inch up to 1.5 inches on this side too. So since I'm going to do 1 1/4 inches, I'm actually going to put it up to the 1 1/4 inch mark on the right side and slice that. And then I'll just push it off the edge, and I'll do 1 1/4 inch again, which means this should be on 1 1/4 inch as well. And boom, that's it. So yeah, I absolutely love our trimmer. This is my favorite one so far. We've had many iterations of trimmers and cutters. We had like a guillotine kind of cutter years ago, and I do still have that because it'll go through like 4 or 5 sheets of, basic white, or it'll go through like 4 sheets of regular cardstock. So if I'm making a lot of cards like at Christmas time, I'd love to use it for that. Also, when you have like the chipboard backing to like your pattern paper or, packages and stuff, it's really good for cutting through that. So if I want to cut through something like that to use as a backing or something, it's really good for that. So I will probably never get rid of my guillotine cutter. But this is my favorite trimmer that we've had so far. You get the scoring blade and the cutting blade when you get it. You can get replacements for both of those now. And like I said, it's got the metric and the imperial measurements. It's got it halfway down too, so that's really nice. And the surface doesn't like peel or fade. I don't know exactly how they made it this time, but really good job, because those measurements, I've had this for years and they're not fading at all. And then the arm does come out, so it'll measure all the way up to 17 inches. Very handy little thing. So, all right, enough about my trimmer. So definitely, if you are paper crafting though, you need yourself a good trimmer. So if you don't have one, this is a great one to get. If you do have one, make sure it's one you love, right? because you're going to be using it an awful lot. All right, I think I am going to switch to my liquid glue for this because I want a little bit of a wiggle room. So anytime you are putting together pieces like this, so if you've got 3 circles you're trying to line up, or if you've got 3 panels like this, or however you're trying to do it, and you're kind of trying to span a card, you want to do the 2 outside pieces first and then build in from there for, it's easier to do even spacing, right? Especially if you're working just with 3. So I'm going to do a little bit of liquid glue. I'm staying a little bit away from the edge because, as we all probably remember from kindergarten, when you put too much glue on and you get really close to the edge and you put it on and it all just seeps out the sides. So put it a little away from the edge. It'll spread. So on this one, it's really handy because that espresso piece is really easy to get a good placement on, right? So that's pretty center. Yeah, that is a really good tip on how to balance, and I cannot take full credit for it. That was another demonstrator that, at one of the many Stampin' Up! Held events that I learned. I absolutely love learning from the thousands of other demonstrators I get to hang out with. Okay, and so then we're going to go on the other side. And a little trick I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fabulous grid paper again. And I'm going to put the top of this one right on a grid line. Make sure it's straight. And then when I come over here, I can also put this one on that same grid line. And then I know they're balanced. Now, my friend Lori did comment that this was like one of those optical illusion cards where it looks like the rectangles are not all the same size, but they are. And that's because of this espresso piece. And I didn't realize that was going to happen until after I was done, and she said that. So, but if this was all on the crumb cake card, you would still be able to get this pretty good. I am going to tip it this way now, so because I think I'll have a better angle of top and bottom. Voila. Very evenly spaced. Now, I'm sure if you took a ruler out, you could find an error, but I'm hoping nobody that you send cards to is taking a ruler to them, right? If they are, maybe send cards to other people instead. Okay, let's come back to our inside piece, shall we? Because I don't want to waste this pretty, pretty tree. I'm going to get my trimmer back out, and we're going to do probably about 3/4 of an inch. And if you look here, this track right here is where the blade's going to cut. So I can actually space that and say, oh, I want it right between those white trunks. And then I don't have to worry about how big it is, right? Because it's not going to matter if it's a perfect measurement. I just need a little strip for my inside piece. Close enough for government work. Well, and I do work for the government, don't I? So in that day job I have. All right. So again, a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm just going to squiggle this because it's a thin piece. And I think I'm going to mix it up tonight and leave a little strip of white on the outside of that. You can do those however you want, and I love that about it. Usually when you're working with designer paper, you've got some pieces left over, and you might as well decorate the inside of your card with it, or decorate your envelope with it. A little bit of my Stampin' Seal. Now, I will say, if you had asked me years ago if I was Stampin' Seal or liquid glue, I would have said Stampin' Seal all the way. The main reason for that, I'm very impatient. I'm an instant gratification girl, and it's just dry. I don't have to have any dry time. I don't have to worry about bumping it and squishing it, right, and moving it at all. It's just dry, and it's done. But as I've shown you, there are definitely applications for the liquid glue. And so I always have both of them on hand now because there's spots to use both of them, right? Okay, so really that card with maybe a greeting, even just stamped right on the paper, would be perfect. And I almost did that because I have a Merry Christmas that would fit in one of these panels. But I decided to kick it up a notch. So first, we're going to grab our linen thread because this is a very kind of neutral tone card, except for that little peak of red barn. I decided the linen thread was the perfect neutral to go with it. And my little secret for doing this kind of thing, because I was not very good at it for a long time. First of all, you'll notice this gets kind of curly, but our linen thread, if you just pull it through your fingernail, straightens out very easily. So I usually just take it and wrap it around 4 fingers, kind of loosely. I did like 3 times. Clip it off. Okay, so you've got that just kind of a loop. I'm just going to let it hang there for a sec. Get my stamp and seal. You can do this with a glue dot as well, or a stamp and seal, or you could even do liquid glue if you wanted, or tear and tape. Lots of different adhesives. So I'm just going to put a little ribbon, I don't know, little piece of stamp and seal there. I'm going to find my ends because I don't want my ends sticking out. If you do, that's fine. But I'm just going to, so I've got it in a loop. I'm just going to make it a figure 8. So I just twisted it. I'm going to pop that right down on the stamp and seal just to let it hang out there for a sec. Now we're going to grab, oh, first we have to stamp our greeting, right? So you hang out up there for a minute. We'll get to our greeting. Okay, so our greeting comes from the Bottled Happiness set, which absolutely could be for Christmas because you got the let's get into the spirit and sending cheer, right? But it could be for anything as well. I've used this in a lot of different colors, and I think only once did I stamp it in Christmas colors. So, but that let's get into the spirit is a great one for Christmas cards. So that's what I decided to go with. And I liked the length of it as well, like just that long skinny greeting for this card. I thought it was perfect. So since we have a long skinny greeting, we needed a long skinny block. So I grabbed our H block, and I do love our acrylic blocks too. You can see here, they've got kind of a divot on all sides, and that's for your fingers to grip. So they're really easy to hang on to and get a good impression because you're less likely to drop them right onto your paper. Now, I will say I have dropped them, so it's not, foolproof, but it's easier. And early espresso ink, because I do love coordinating colors, right? I love not having to think about what color ink am I going to use on this. Yeah, my designer paper in my cardstock already told me what color I was going to use. So let's make sure, yep, we are good and inked. This is photopolymer, so super simple to get it straight, and I'm going to get it kind of as close to the bottom here as I can. I stamped it crooked. Never mind. Our cardstock has 2 sides. Not the first time I've done that. There we go. Okay, grab our chamois. Love our chamois as well. Just rinse it with water. I know it's stained, but it still works great. And you put it in a stamp case like that, it's super portable. So if you've got kids and you're going to a game, or if you're going camping, or if you're going on vacation and you want to take a little bit of stuff with you, or if you're just going to a friend's house to stamp with them, because that's awesome. Your chamois is really easy to take with. Okay, that is all the stamping that's happening today. Get all of that out of the way, and now let's bring our trimmer back in, because even on tiny things like this, it's super easy. So what I'm doing here, let me get this up close again. I've put this up to the cut line, right? And I'm just kind of gauging where those letters hit. So it looks like pretty much right at the edge of this. So now, let's go to this side. Thought you could fool me. So I'm just going to line the bottom of those letters up with the edge of that on this side, and it should give me a pretty even, you know, top and bottom on the words. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at how perfect that is, you guys. So easy to do with the right tools. Okay, so you know my little trick. I love to do a little kind of notched edge, a little slant, right? My friend Jamie taught me this fabulous little trick. You take that and get it to the end, and I'm going to just line that edge right up with one of these lines. And then I will have the exact same angle on the other side. It's fine. Make sure to hold on to it. Okay, and then what I did, really easy, no measuring needed on this next part, is I'm going to take a little bit of the liquid glue, because this is a skinny piece, and I'm going to put it just on the bottom. So that's on the bottom of the words. There we go. It's just cardstock, Penny. No need to gasp. So I'm going to put this so it is sticking up, because I only want the espresso on the bottom, right? And then handy trimmer right out again. We're going to be a little better this time and hold on to it. So I don't know, I'm just going to guesstimate like about how much I want on the bottom. So if you hold this down, da, 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 and now I can do that same trick. What I did is I have lined up this edge of the white right against where the color of the trimmer changes. So it'll be just past that line. You just have a little peekaboo. Whoops. There we go. But it's at the same angle. And I will do the same thing on this side, even though that angle got a little messed up. As Penny said, close enough for government work. Okay. So our trimmer has done a lot of heavy lifting tonight, and it has been super simple because it's a great tool. Okay. So now we have our dimensionals, and I want to show you all what happened to our smiley face. He's melting. So you should see the one that I started that's completely perfectly in rows. So I'm actually going to take one of these dimensionals and put it kind of right on that string. Another one, put it right on that string. Yes, that will be perfect. To move down just a little bit, I think. And then I can put a couple on the edge of these. Take the backings off here. So those two that I put down here are just to help hold that linen thread down to the card. And then the ones that I put on the outsides, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. We'll just move that up just a little bit. There we go. It's fine. The ones on the outsides are going to help hold that sentiment up so it doesn't sag. And then you can kind of play around with the ends once everything's secured and kind of spread those out a little bit for a little bit more rustic look, right? Because you've got a cabin going on there. I probably could place that down farther. Okay. Couple last things that I want to add to this. One, I thought it'd be fun to have some kind of big snowdrops, right? So we got our iridescent pearls and my favorite, take your pick tool. I love this putty tip for this. So we'll just pop one right about there. We got our rule of triangles, right? So I do want to group these kind of close together because I feel like they do work better that way. And then we'll put one up on that one. We got some big snowflakes. I can't find my words tonight, you guys. And then a little bit of Winkostella. Gotta love the Winkostella. And I'm just going to kind of draw a little bit right down the roof line with this. And then maybe a little around the chimney. We'll come all the way up, I think. And then the other thing I did, and there is a little thing that says push on the side. So if you need a little bit more coming out, you can do that. But I actually kind of just dotted it down the trees so that it looked like there was some snow on the trees, right? You don't have to get real exact with that. You just go. And I know on the camera you can't see that a lot, so I'm going to try to tip it for you. There we go. And it catches the light. Basically, it's a really neat, clean way to add glitter kind of effect to your cards. Because we don't do glitter in this house. We call glitter the herpes of the craft world because it never goes away. So, but Winkostella is Stamper Man approved. I'm not ready for snow either, trust me. But I am ready for this paper. And as we crafters know, you can't wait until snow hits to start crafting for Christmas. So you've got to get a jump on it. So yes, I did place the sentiment up a little farther. You can see that I used a thinner line on the one I did tonight. It's totally up to you how you want to do that. So I also promised you a couple of other samples. Let's do that. One is using that beautiful fox that I just loved. And so literally same measurements, just 3 3/4, sorry. So they're each 1 1/4 inches wide. And I literally just stamped Hello Friend on there and left it. I did put a little Winkostella on this one too, because why not? Anytime it's snowy scene, I usually use some Winkostella. Okay. The other one is totally different. I used a different pack of paper. Absolutely love how this turned out. So with this one, this is from our stargazing pack of paper. And instead of having the extra kind of peak all around, I used a card base, and then I used the Flirty Flamingo just as tall as these strips, so you don't see it above and below, you only see it in between. And then I was so excited. You'll have to bust into this paper now. I was so excited to find this phrase, finding a friend is the best discovery of all, on a thing of planets, because I'm sure we all thought, what am I going to use this paper for? Well, right there. And that saying comes from Happy Hedgehogs. Completely not space related or exploration or discovery or anything, right? So always check your sentiments in your other stamp sets and see what will work with these really obscure kind of things that you're thinking, right? And then what I did was I cut another planet out of that. It happened to be on the corner of the paper, and I'm like, what else am I going to use that for? So I cut that out and decorated the inside with that. So don't lose your corner and edge pieces because they're perfect for things like that. So there we go with your tri-panel cards. I did want to remind you that we are in the subscription period for the August Paper Pumpkin, which is Meaningful Flowers. And I told you all last time, I'm super excited about the Lotus Blossoms. Super fun. And then we also have Forget-Me-Nots in this set. And it comes with an extra free stamp set. So you get one stamp set all the time in your paper pumpkin. This one's going to come with 2. So super stoked about that, because who doesn't love more stamps? And then the other thing I want to remind you about, because it's ending, Monday, I think? Yeah, Monday's the 31st. Yes, so July, we've got bonus days going on. So for every $50 you order, you will get a $5 coupon to spend next month in August, which is next week already. So you do need an email address when you check out because your code will be emailed to that address. Make sure you save your codes because they can't be resent and they can't be retrieved. So yeah, make sure you save your codes if you want to just take a screenshot and put them all in one folder in your photo gallery on your phone. That's super simple way to do it. You can use them all at once on one order if you want. Awesome way to save some more on stamps, crafts, and perfect tools, right? So, all righty, let's pop back up here. Wow, like I forgot how to do that all of a sudden because it's been a week. So we are super excited around here too because next week we are going to our music festival up in Appleton, Wisconsin. So excited to go see some of our favorite artists and find some new favorites. I've already been listening to their Spotify lists to see like who we want to go see. So I will still be live next Monday. We will still have Friday night stamping. Everything's the same. Don't worry. We won't leave you hanging. And then I'll tell you a week from Monday. I'll tell you all about it because it'll be fabulous. So, all right. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you've got some new tips, new ideas, new inspiration. Hope you're going to break out that snowy paper or maybe that planet paper. That one's super fun for this technique. And yeah, thanks so much for joining me. Until next week, I'm still Nan Gerlitz.